6:49 as we get you up and get you going. A reminder, there are only a few craft beer cards left, and you can still purchase one. It's just $79 for a $360 value, 12 craft beer locations, $30 at each brewery. That's a $360 value. And again, all you need to do is go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals, and go to and purchase your own craft beer card. It's really cool to have. 12 different locations that you can go to. And again, at each one, you get a $30 kind of limit. So that's $360. And you can go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals, and purchase one for just $79. 803-404-6100. Coming up in the next hour, we will be joined by Toby from the Carolina Cup, as that is coming up in November. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, Perry Orth will join us. We'll get more into what he thinks about the first 4 games that have taken place for South Carolina, how he's seen both the development of Lenora Sellers as well as the development of Robbie Ashford. Speaking of which, yesterday, a lot of news in Gamecock land. Tonka Hemingway named to the Campbell Trophy semifinalist. It is the Campbell Trophy. It's college football's premier Scholar Athlete Award. The National Football Foundation and College Hall of Fame announced the impressive candidates from all NCAA divisions in NAIA that boast a 3.63 average GPA. That's pretty good for him. It is its 35th year celebrating, recognizing an individual as the absolute best football scholar athlete in the nation for his combined academic success, football performance, and exemplary leadership. So congratulations to Tonka Hemingway on that, who I've been keeping an eye on some of these mock drafts to see where some South Carolina defensive linemen will fall. There was one on CBS, I believe it was the end of last week, where it had TJ Sanders selected, decided, whatever you want to label it, as a first-round draft pick to the Buffalo Bills. Keeping an eye to see if Tonka Hemingway can move himself up into the first 2 rounds, if that's a discussion point for him, as he's been overshadowed, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but he's been overshadowed a little bit, I think, by the play of Kyle Kennard, as well as the early season success of Dylan Stewart. But Hemingway has continued to be a very solid contributor for the Gamecocks so far, and is kind of, I was going to say kind of a big part, but he is a big part of that 4-man defensive interior rotation right now with Huntley, with TJ Sanders, and also with DeAndre Jules. Jules has had a really good season. For those kind of that hadn't been paying attention, he's got 10 total tackles, 8 on the season that are solo and 2 assisted. And then you got Tonka again so far with just with 6 total tackles, 3 solo, 3 assisted on the season. Tonka also has 1 sack on the season. So because of the way they're able to rotate guys, because of the way that the Gamecocks have been able to keep guys fresh early on, maybe his stats aren't exactly what you would expect, but they have been very solid nonetheless. I do want to remind you, if you're not doing anything today around noon and you want to get out into the weather, the women's soccer team, Shelley Smith, they are going to take on Mississippi State today at noon. That game has been moved up, obviously, due to weather. It is free admission for fans, and as the notes tell me, umbrellas are not allowed inside Stone Stadium. The women's team unbeaten on the season, 5-0-4, 2-0 in conference play so far this season. Gamecocks are ranked number 23, and they will take on number 9 Mississippi State on the season. Mississippi State 8-1 on the season, and again, that will be at noon today. So if you want to get out and brave the weather over there at the Graveyard, you can go and check that out. That game was originally scheduled for 7 o'clock tonight. Will now take place again at noon. At number 9, Mississippi State in town to take on Shelley Smith and the number 23 ranked women's soccer team today. Again, 5-0-4 on the season, 5 wins, 0 losses, 4 draws, 2-0 on the season in conference play. And again, I'll mention it, free admission for fans. Umbrellas, Jen, not allowed in the stadium. Go buy your ponchos. That's the other thing that you want to know about.
Yeah, any sporting events, just make sure you always have a poncho in the car or something, because, typically the umbrellas, not exactly great. It's like somebody thinks they could be used as a weapon or something.
Good point. Yeah, do not use weapons at the women's soccer match. That is frowned upon also.
And also obstructs your view.
That too. One other South Carolina note. Well, I got two others real quick as we kind of wrap up. So there's some South Carolina information. Congrats to the women's golf team. Senior All-American Hannah Darling being named SEC Golfer of the Week. The league announced yesterday. Fourth time Darling has received Player of the Week. She's been on a tear to start the season. She won the individual award for the Annika Intercollegiate Tournament September 9th through the 11th, and was a runner-up medalist at the Mason Rudolph Championship back on September 20th through the 22nd. She has helped the fourth-ranked Gamecocks to victories at the Annika with her win and runner-up team finish at the Mason Rudolph. So congratulations to Hannah Darling for her performance. And also, as we just give you some South Carolina news, women's volleyball team last week, we should have mentioned this, with a win over Clemson up at Clemson. They're 9-2 on the season. So for South Carolina athletics, pretty good start to the athletic academic year, 24-25. Volleyball off to a good start. Men's soccer off to a great start. Women's soccer off to a great start. And football doing their thing. We'll talk about that. You're listening to the early game.
The only accident that we have reported at this time is Old Wire Road at the 12th Street Extension. Your forecast, it's going to be kind of messy. This afternoon through like overnight tonight, we could see 2 to 5 inches of rain, just kind of depends, and could see some heavy winds. Our high today overall 79. Tomorrow we'll have that morning rain and wind. Then that'll be clearing. We'll be left with a high of 86. Saturday, sunny and 85. So not too shabby. And we're thinking about the people in Florida and in the path of this storm. Right now, we are sitting at kind of a warm morning, 75 on the early game. So before you get rolling, we know that that hurricane is coming in and going to be barreling down on the coast, or at least in Florida and stuff. And you forget that we have people here who actually will go and help on response teams. And one of our longtime listeners and callers, David, he's on his way down to Florida to help out as part of a hurricane response team. So we appreciate him doing that, and everybody who is going to be helping out in the storm efforts.
Yeah, keep your eyes out, keep everything. But we'll try and keep you slightly updated today, this morning, to see what exactly may be going on and happening here. At least here, I've got one of the TVs working, and we're keeping an eye on the Weather Channel. So good luck to David and any other first responders heading down to the Gulf Coast there to try and help out if it does indeed hit Tallahassee, which it is expected to do sometime late tonight, early tomorrow morning. And certainly around here, we want to keep you updated on anything that's going on and as it pertains to weather, wind, rain, anything like that, as we try to roll through the next 2 hours of this program. So good luck to you, David, and thank you for calling in this morning. 803-404-6100. Let's talk Braves. A little chop talk right now.
We're talking about coach.
We'll get to it. We'll start it here.
My goodness. I guess we just needed a little more Gamecock Larry.
No, you can never get enough.
Chop talk.
Hammered, left field, gone! Ronald Acuna, another milestone in a truly historic season.
On the Game Network.
Last night, or yesterday, the Braves caught a really bad break, I think. You had maybe the best pitcher this year in the National League, Chris Sale, going to the mound. The Braves were a game behind the Mets, and the Braves coming off of that 5-1 victory on Tuesday night. It felt like everything was all the momentum was in the Braves' court, was in their dugout, if you will. And last night was an opportunity to tie up the Mets going into what would have been a pivotal game tonight. However, Hurricane Helena coming in and now spoiling all of this, and you get both games, last night and tonight, postponed, and it will create a doubleheader on Monday. Both games will be played if necessary. That's an interesting part to it. They may not have to play both games. First game will be set for Monday at 1:10 p.m. with the second game scheduled 40 minutes after the end of the first game. And this has major postseason implications. Part of that is Braves and Mets, if it has to come down to some wild tiebreaker, the Braves and Mets actually sit right now with a 5-5 record against each other for the season. Now, entering yesterday, the Mets were a half game ahead of the Diamondbacks, and of course the Braves were a half game behind the Diamondbacks. Well, last night, Arizona was able to snap a 3-game losing skid. They won. They now move to a full game ahead of the Braves. Diamondbacks 88-71 on the season. The Mets 87-70, and the Braves 86-71 on the season. We talked about this a little bit with Preston yesterday And it was interesting because I was watching, I think it was one of the ESPN talking shows on Tuesday afternoon, and it was raising the question now about winning the division and how important that is. Now, obviously, the way it's set up with the playoffs, it still is. There is a level of importance. But if you look at certain teams and what they've been able to do, Arizona Diamondbacks a good example of it last year. If you can just get into the playoffs and get hot, that's really the goal here. Just get to the playoffs and then heat up. And you look at someone like the San Diego Padres. I know they lost last night, but they've gotten themselves into the playoffs. They will be the number 4 seed, the top seed in the wild card there behind the Dodgers and behind the Dodgers and the Brewers. But that's the goal. Get into the playoffs. And I agree. I personally, being the negative person that I normally am, just doesn't see the Braves making a run through the postseason, even if they were to get into it. Too many injuries. Pitching has got some issues with it right now. But just get into it. And right now we've got a situation with this where the Braves now will get 2 days off, and then they will start a Friday series against the Kansas City Royals. The Royals, they're in the same position. That's the thing that kind of stinks. You don't have a team coming into Atlanta that's trying to figure things out with maybe next season and allowing some of their younger players to play and benching some of the guys, pulling what the Pirates did yesterday, benching some of your other guys. The Royals right now are tied with the Tigers for the 5th and 6th wild card spot in the American League, and the Minnesota Twins are 2 games back. The Mariners are 2.5 games back. So the Royals are going to have to keep their foot to the gas Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and not go out and just play out the string of games. So the Braves right now facing a little bit more of a difficult situation. You look at the Mets and what they've done. Mets have actually been the best team in baseball since I think it was the beginning of June. Their record has been absolutely ridiculous since June, but the Mets do start a series with the Brewers coming up tomorrow night. Those games will be in Milwaukee before they have to return to Atlanta for that expected doubleheader on Saturday. On Monday. Saturday is football day. Coming up on the playoff side of things, when you look at everything right now, Yankees and Orioles, they are definitely in the playoffs right now. You've also got the Guardians having clinched the Central Division and the Astros clinching the AL West. We've mentioned, if you're a Braves fan, if you're a baseball fan, the Phillies have clinched the National League East. They're up 6 games on the Mets, 7 games on the Braves. The Brewers have clinched the Central. They're in, and I saw the Brewers in back-to-back games in August. Tell you what, if you want a sneaky team to win the World Series, Brewers are 90-68 on the season, have a 128-run differential on the season, which is very, very solid. Third in all of baseball behind the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Brewers. They're third. So you've got the Brewers, who I think are really good. They've clinched the Central, and then of course out west, Dodgers have clinched the West. The Padres have clinched a wild card spot. So we'll see what happens with the Braves. I think they caught a bad break last night. I know, look, they couldn't get that game in yesterday. Atlanta was absolutely waterlogged. There was no way they were getting that game in. But if they had, having Chris Sale on the mound last night, I think would have gotten them tied with the Mets or the Diamondbacks. Of course, again, I mentioned the Diamondbacks won, but would have had them tied for that last, even the 5th spot in the wild card. Unfortunately, now both games rained out. They'll start that 3-game series with the Royals, and we'll go from there into next week and see what happens when we do some Chop Talk next week. If the Braves are indeed in the playoffs, if they were able to get out of the regular season, a season where when we started this segment back in, I think it was the end of March, maybe the beginning of April, one of the stats we read was that the Braves were one of the top 3 teams per Vegas odds to win the World Series. Not to get into the playoffs, to win the World Series. And obviously the injuries they have sustained, problems going way back to Spencer Strider, having his season cut short. Braves have kind of fought through it. Give them credit for that. But it still would probably be a disappointment if they do not make, even with the injuries, would be a disappointment if they do not make the playoffs. So there's a little Chop Talk for you. We'll get into some horse racing when we come back. Talk about the horses out there. We've got the big Carolina Cup coming up in
a little bit of horsing around this morning.
Look at Jen staying on her A game, even on a rainy day. We'll talk a little bit of horses with Carolina Cup Director Toby when we come back. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air, where they have got incredible deals going on. There's so much going on at AAA Heating and Air. I don't even have 60 seconds to talk about it, but let me try. Number one, and most importantly, if you are in the market for a brand new heating and air unit, AAA Heating and Air is offering an incredible deal right now. You can purchase a brand new heating and air unit right now and have no interest and no payments until September of 2025, a full year, no interest, no payments. That's right, Roy and Dana Finley. They want to make sure you, the customer, is taken care of, that you get the incredible deal. And right now at AAA Heating and Air, they have no interest and no payments for a full 12 months. Also right now, if you think you've got the oldest air conditioning unit in the Midlands, you could win a brand new heating and air unit. Just go to myoldAir.com and enter to win a new HVAC system. If you think you've got the oldest heating and air units in the Midlands, go to myoldAir.com and sign up. AAA Heating and Air, call them today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Have a few things out on the highway that we need to let you know about this morning. Highway 378 at I-26. Also, Old Wire Road at the 12th Street extension. So be careful out there this morning. 79 will be our high today. We are going to expect rain and wind that increases as the afternoon rolls on. And really the afternoon through the overnight, looking for heavier winds. Could potentially see 2 to 5 inches of rain. And like I said, a high of 79. Some morning rain and wind tomorrow. And then that'll get out of the way. High of 86 and will be 85 the remainder of the weekend under clear skies. It is 75 right now.
7:15 as we get you up and get you going here on your Thursday morning, a rainy Thursday morning, as Jen just mentioned here in the Midlands. If you're out driving, getting to work this morning, getting the kids to school, please be safe as we get you up and get you going. A reminder, at least as of now, we are expected to broadcast tomorrow. The halftime show, the postgame show will broadcast live from the Ultimate Long Drive World Championship at Par T Golf, 3209 Charleston Highway in West Columbia. I would imagine trying to swing the club hard and extremely fast in wet conditions is not easy, so we'll see what happens there. But tomorrow, 12 to 6, the halftime show and the postgame shows will be broadcasting live from Par T Golf, 3209 Charleston Highway in West Columbia for the Ultimate Long Drive World Championship. Another of the great events we have in the state coming up on November the 17th. It'll be down in Camden, and it will be, of course, the Colonial Cup races that we will be looking forward to. And joining us now to talk about it, as he always does, is our good buddy, Toby Edwards. Mr. Edwards, welcome back in with your lovely British accent. British, right? It is British.
Yes, it is British. Good morning to you all. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Oh, always thrilled to do it as you get ready here for another fantastic race. As my countdown tells me, 51 days, 21 hours, 43 minutes, and we tick just under 20 seconds. This is something I know that you're very excited about. Weather typically fantastic this time of year, and it's just another incredible event that you're able to put on.
Yes, it's exciting to bring the Colonial Cup back to its rightful place here in Camden. It hasn't run since 2016, so we're delighted to get the races back. It'll be a championship day of racing, $150,000 of prize money to the horses that run in the Colonial Cup itself. So big day of racing, lots of exciting things to do. So great for the family to come out and enjoy an afternoon outside and seeing wonderful horses, great fashions, great shopping.
All right. So for those, you mentioned this has not run in 8 years, 2016 the last time. How does this race and how does the hospitality and the tailgating and everything, in your opinion, differ from what we get in the spring with the Carolina Cup?
I think it's a smaller event. It's never been as big as the spring races. More intimate, very family friendly. True Vista Kid Zone is going to be a part of the events on the day, and everything in the Kid Zone is free to children, as our kids 12 and under are free to the event. We're rolling out the Corgi Cup this year. We're going to have some Corgi racing in the morning as well. So that's something that'll be fun and exciting to watch the Corgis racing. Her Majesty's dogs will be racing here at Springdale Racecourse in Camden.
Go ahead, Jen. Jen's got a question.
Jen,
turn your mic on.
I'm just very curious. Corgis can race. Their legs are like 1.5 inches long.
well, apparently I'm not the proud owner of a Corgi, but I think if you ask anybody who is, they will tell you that Corgis, that they are extremely fast.
I love this. I just didn't process it, I guess. I've seen them, and like I've seen some things with the Queen and her pups, back in the day, and I've seen them sort of gallop isn't the word, but whatever they do, the way they were. That's got to be fun.
What we would call a married man's canter, just a nice, slow, steady pace.
I love that. That's worth the price of admission right there. And then there's going to be some horses racing.
Then there'll be some horses racing. The horses will go a little bit faster than the Corgis.
I suspect.
The horses are going to run in the big race 2 miles and 5 furlongs. And you might ask me, what is a furlong, Toby? Well, I can tell you a little brief bit of history on that. Furlong is Old English for a furrow long. That is the distance that one man and 2 ox can plough in a straight line before the ox have to take a break. 220 yards. Also, it goes all the way back to Roman times. If you go to Circus Maximus and you look at the distance that the chariot racing was, it was 1 stadia. Hence, we still use the word today, stadium, for sporting events. A stadia is a Roman measurement that equates to roughly 220 yards. So there's a bit of what do you call it? Useless knowledge.
Vocabulary lesson.
No, listen, we pride ourselves.
That's
kids.
Fascinating.
7:20 here on a Thursday morning, Toby. We pride ourselves. Kids are being sent to school right now. Parents are driving them to school. I'm sure there's a bunch of kids sitting on the yellow buses heading to school with earbuds in, listening to our program. And we have just given them this knowledge that they can now go to the middle school or the high school or even the elementary school and share with their friends about what exactly a furlong is. We appreciate this knowledge.
There you go. Well, that is it. So we do measure horse races in furlongs. So little trivia for you on this somewhat drizzly, rainy Thursday morning.
That's exactly right. So it's the Colonial Cup races. It'll be taking place on November the 17th, again, about 51 days away. Real quick, in this one, you mentioned, now I've blanked. I didn't write down the note. How many horses did you say? How many outside of the corgis? Outside of the corgis.
Outside of the corgis, there will be 6 thoroughbred horse races. The first race kicks off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Gates will open at 9 a.m. All information is on our website, colonialcup.org. You can always call us here in Camden at the office, 803-432-6513. Look, come on and have a fantastic day. Learn about horse racing and what a fabulous sport it is and why it is called the sport of kings and why the South Carolina Jockey Club was formed in Charleston 15 years before the English Jockey Club. Another bit of trivia.
Tell us real quick about the Carolina Jockey Club.
So the South Carolina Jockey Club was formed in Charleston, and you can't quote me on this date, but 1750-something. Most people would think the English Jockey Club is the oldest jockey club in the world, but actually the South Carolina formed theirs about 15, 18 years before the English Jockey Club. So they would have been responsible for arranging all races in the Carolinas, and in those times, racing was hugely popular. Washington Park, that right in downtown Charleston, or Hampton Park, was called Washington Racecourse. That was Charleston's premier racetrack, and they had a huge festival of racing there every February. There's an old track here in Camden called Renfield. Columbia had a racecourse right there at the fairgrounds. There were racetracks across the state. It was tremendously popular back in the day.
I don't want anybody, Jen, make sure we save all this. This goes for our, our Star Award. Mm-hmm. We are educating the public right now.
Absolutely.
With
this is award-winning.
History on that right there.
History, there we go.
It is history, and again, you mentioned it starting in Charleston. You said in the 1700s?
Yes, and we will make history again here in Camden on November the 17th. And what a great place to come and help us with that history and create traditions for your own family to carry on for generations.
So, and I want to point this out because in the last, earlier in the 6 o'clock hour, we were mentioning Saturday, November 16th, you got South Carolina, Missouri, which will be here in Columbia, You've also got South Carolina, Indiana basketball, and you can make it a big weekend because November 17th is a Sunday. So you can take in football, you can watch basketball on Saturday, and then you can head down to Camden for the Colonial Cup races. And I'll suggest this, tailgating, I'm assuming tailgating for this, you said it's a little bit smaller, but still the same amount of fun, the same amount of excitement as the spring.
Absolutely. That's right. Absolutely. We've got tailgating available, hospitality tickets in the Champions Club. So all that info is on our website, colonialcup.org. And we'd love to have you come out. Again, kids 12 and under are free, and all events for kids in the True Vista Kids Zone are also free. So a great way to bring out the family and enjoy some fantastic horse racing and watch the corgis do their thing as well.
Real quick, how does the corgi, like if you have a corgi and you think your corgi is really fast, can you just sign up? How does that exactly work?
You can go to our website and the information is there about how to sign up for the corgi races. That is correct. So we're taking entries for the corgi races, as we speak. We plan to have maybe three heats and take the first 2 or 3 dogs from each heat, and then have a grand finale. So that'll be some fun entertainment during the morning before the thoroughbreds go out on the track and show us some fantastic horse racing in the afternoon.
So it is the Colonial Cup races. It'll be a lot of fun. And if you think you have the fastest corgi out there, go to colonialcup.org and get your corgi signed up. And I'm going to need to hear more about that. Before I let you out here, this has been a new debate on our program, and I hope I don't date you on this. I hope I don't age you on this. But Preston's not here this morning and had to leave, but Preston was doing a album countdown, Toby, back during the summer. And one of the albums he came across that we really liked was Oasis. Now, he was an Oasis fan originally. Your thoughts on the Oasis reunion that is expected, or do you even care about Oasis?
No, I think it's fabulous that the two brothers have set aside their differences and coming back to create what always was and will continue to be some fantastic music.
You know what I think would also help them in their reunion is if they raced with the corgis.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I think that'd be phenomenal.
Have you got the pull to get them to come and give us a couple of sets here at Springdale Racecourse in November? Can you make that happen for me?
You know what? I'll do my very best.
Jed's on it.
I'll hold you to it, Jen.
Toby, we always appreciate your time dropping by, and it has been I have enjoyed this, a knowledgeable morning on everything from corgi racing to the Carolina Jockey Club, which I actually thought was really interesting. Kids, we have informed you. We've also informed you of what a furlong is this morning. Toby, you have a great day. Stay dry out there, and we look forward to catching up with you the week of the race.
All right, Bill and Jen, thanks so much for having me on, and we look forward to talking to you, as you say, closer to the races.
Sounds good. Toby Edwards with it's the Colonial Cup. This time a lot of you are familiar with it being the Carolina Cup that takes place in the spring. 803-404-6100 if you want to text in on any knowledge you just picked up there. Coming up, we'll drop some more knowledge on you. Perry Orth will call in, and we will talk with him about what he's seen from the quarterbacks in the team through the first 4 games. You're listening to The Early Game. Bill Gunner for Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Let me tell you right now, you've got things lined up. You've got things planned. You've got a big weekend ahead of you. It's a bye week for South Carolina. You don't need to be cleaning your home. You need to be spending time with your family. I think the Gunner family's heading out to a pumpkin patch. That's a lot more fun than cleaning your home. That's why we use Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. With their patented cleaning system that gets your home's surfaces insanely clean without leaving behind any soapy residue, Zero Res will make sure your house is ready to be enjoyed when there's actually football to watch. So call today, 803-262-4020, and take advantage of the fall savings event. Get 20% off your cleaning services. That's right, you heard that correct. 20% off all carpets, air ducts, rugs, more when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 107.5 The Game. You can book online, zerorescolumbia.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards, it's the right way to clean.
It's a little bit busy out there on the highways this morning. I-126 eastbound at I-26. Also I-77 southbound at Forest Drive. Summit Ridge Drive at Bombing Range Road, also an accident there. Two more to let you know about. Highway 321 at I-26 and Highway 378 also at I-26. So please be careful out there this morning. Going to be seeing rain throughout the day. Increased chances of rain, I guess, this afternoon, really through the overnight hours and into tomorrow morning. Potentially 2 to 5 inches of rain, some heavier winds, high of 79 today. Tomorrow, that morning rain and wind will be clearing. And then we'll have a high of 86 on Saturday, sunny and 85. Right now, though, some rain, and it's 75.
$7:33. As we get you up and get you going, I want to remind you the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest is indeed back. If South Carolina scores a special teams touchdown next week against Mississippi, someone will pocket $500. Go and register today at 1075thegame.com and get yourself an opportunity to win the pot, which is currently $500. It's the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest, reminding you if South Carolina scores a special teams touchdown next week against Mississippi, somebody can win $500. Wherever you're at today, doesn't matter. You don't have to be in Columbia. Just go to our website, 1075thegame.com, and register yourself to win the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Up next, as we go from horses to football, I think those intertwine. Maybe the history is a little different, but our dual threat quarterback, Perry Orth, joins us this morning to talk a little bit about what he's seen. Perry, how you doing so far this morning on this rainy Thursday morning?
Yeah, very good. Appreciate you guys having me on. And yeah, it is. It's about to come down here in Columbia, but we're not getting it as bad as some of the other places. But every once in a while, it's good to have a good rainy day, change of pace, cool it down a little bit, and get that grass growing a little bit longer before it shuts it down for the winter.
Soup, rain, and naps. That's what today is all about for a lot of you. Is no football game this weekend. So let's get your assessment of the first four games, Perry. I think we had you on there leading into the opener and what you thought Lenore Sellers had to deal with. Let's start with Lenoris. He's played 2.5 games. Your take on his growth from the opening snap against Old Dominion to the unfortunate injury against LSU.
Well, yeah, I think it's been phenomenal. I think the first game, he just looked like your first college start, your hometown school. He looked like he wanted to go out and overperform instead of doing what he does best, which he slowly evolved into over the next couple of games. I think the first game he was a little jumpy, which caused him to be inaccurate. And you can't have that as a quarterback. You got to be nice and calm and composed. And it's funny because then the next week he goes on the road and a pretty tough place to play at, Kentucky, and he looked as calm as ever and threw a couple balls on the money. And then, man, LSU, he really seemed to kind of settle in. And I tell you, we talk a lot about how well Lenoris has played, but I think Coach Loggins has done an amazing job of giving him play calls that are of benefit to his capability, right? He's not forcing him to necessarily be this NFL drop back quarterback right now. He's kind of mixing in some run and some pass and some move in the pocket. And, as we used to call it, some good clear vision throws. And I think that's helped Lenoris, play well. I wish he would have gotten a chance against Akron, but obviously he was hurt. And Ashford came in and lit it up. And it's good to know you've got two guys that you can play with that can win football games, because we all know that we're going to need both of them to win down the stretch with some of the schedule that we have coming up.
Where have you seen the largest growth from him? Is it mental? Is it more comfortable throwing the ball? Is there something fundamental where in that opener he was a little high on a lot of passes? What have you observed that's been his biggest growth?
It's been the composure. He looks like he's now played games at this level. I can't overemphasize it enough. The first week he just looked like he was rushing throws, and not like he was scared to get hit, but like he didn't want to be late. He didn't want to make the wrong decision instead of just playing the game. Whereas the next couple of weeks, it appeared that he just seemed more comfortable. if you go back and you look at some of the errant throws, the high throws, the throws left, right, or skipping balls, I mean, that's nothing more than nerves. I mean, he's been making great passes his entire life. It's not like he'd lost the ability to throw the football in that game. It's just, I think everything caught up to him, and I think Old Dominion may have given him some different looks that he wasn't prepared for. And because of that, he missed some throws. But after that, man, I tell you, they've done a really good job of getting him settled into the game with some good, easy throws. Let him get a carry in, let him get hit, let him shake the nerves, and then just go play football. Go and play within the game plan that we've practiced for the last 5 days, and you're going to have a chance to be successful during the game. And I think they've done that, and I think he's done that. So I would say the composure and the confidence have been the two areas that he's grown the most over the first month of the season.
Perry Orth joining us as our dual threat quarterback analysis continues. Let me go back to something you brought up. You mentioned Dow Loggins and him. Preston and I have talked about this before, about an offensive coordinator kind of having to learn maybe, I don't want to say a different system, but if you look at the quarterbacks that Dow has had in his lifetime, and then obviously Spencer Rattler last year, none of them are, I think, what you would really label a dual threat quarterback. How difficult do you think it's difficult for a guy to then have to maybe change his mindset on how to call plays with a different style of quarterback?
I don't think so. I think it's just a little bit different. I think where Dowell will have and probably had to just adjust his thought process is, when things are tight, when it's, third and medium and, you've kind of worked all the plays on your sheet and you want to call something that you're comfortable with, but you also have to remember that what you're comfortable with might not be what your guy is comfortable with. But I'll tell you, after about a month of the season, you get into the rhythm of the guy that you have behind the center, and then you start to feel it from there. So I wouldn't say it was a challenge per se, but I would say that just the comfortability of calling. I don't know how many times he called power read with the quarterback in the NFL, right? Or how many times he even called, jet motion power read with Rattler, but. He called that against LSU, and Lenore's ripped a 75-yard touchdown run, right? So just getting comfortable with it. But, I will tell you, he's got Coach Elliott in his back pocket and as a soundboard to be able to, hey, we want to run the football, but what are we wanting to do? Are we wanting to run the power read, the inside zone, the zone read? Are we going to run the counter out of the gun? Like what are we planning on doing? I know Coach Elliott had a huge impact in the run game the first time he was here when I was playing. And, we very, very rarely did we not run the ball well with Coach Elliott, calling the run plays.
So then now let's transition to last Saturday night, the Akron game, your observations and analysis of Robbie Ashford.
Golly, man, he lit it up. He looked as comfortable as he ever had. He looked like he was ready to leave it all out there. He threw the ball well. He ran it well. I've been impressed with Robbie. I know he had a tough little stint at Auburn, had some good plays and some bad ones, but he came out and he played well. It is really, really good to know that there is another quarterback that we can put in the game that is going to feel comfortable if he needs to go in, and that can win you football games. I remember after the Kentucky game, when after the game had concluded, just being like, man, I'm pretty impressed with how Robbie came in and just. No, he didn't do a ton, but he came in there, kept the offense composed. One of the drives he came in, let him down to get a field goal, which was a big-time field goal at that point in the game. Coach Loggins obviously likes to run him, as he should. He's a hell of a runner, and he's a good thrower. And he kind of brings that stability to the room, knowing that, hey, if Lenoris goes down, we don't have to completely flip the game plan to go with a pro-style guy, right? We can more or less plug and play somebody with similar gifts to Lenoris to go and continue on with the plan that we had in the first place. And I thought that was a brilliant move by the coaching staff in the offseason to get him out of the portal for that exact reason. So, I'm very impressed with Robbie.
Let's just put this to bed here, because I know at least when you have a bye week and no other games, your thoughts on Robbie versus Lenoris and the experience of Robbie versus maybe the upside of Lenoris. Is whoever the starter is even in question?
No. You got to go with Lenoris. And I don't say that just because he's a South Carolina guy. Lenoris has so much upside, and he's a better thrower, and I think that Lenoris gives you all the same abilities running the football as well. And this is Lenoris's team. This is really his program, and you got to get him as much experience now as you can. And obviously, you need to do what you can to win the games. But kind of like the Mannings say, you don't lose a job because of an injury, especially one that you're coming back from. So I kind of fit with that same methodology in that Lenoris is the guy until he isn't.
Let's transition. Got about 2 minutes left with you, but your thoughts so far on what you've seen from the defense?
Oh my goodness, pass rush is probably the best in the country. It's the best that I've seen, just in all the games that I've watched in the first month. I mean, the Kennard kid is a game wrecker. Obviously, Dylan Stewart is a freak. And then the other guys are being slept on a little bit. Yeah, I think Boogie Huntley has played his best football of his career right now. I hated the way that we unfortunately couldn't wrangle up the LSU game, but, man, that quarterback, Nussmeier, is the real deal. He's a first-round talent. He'll play on Sundays for a long time. But all in all, I mean, they've played pretty daggone good football all the way from the first game through the Akron game. And, I think that there's some times where we've given up some big runs, but other than that, I think that's part of the game. But I think that Clayton White has done about as good of a job from a turnaround as he possibly could. Even though I'll say people forget the last 3 games of the season last year, I thought we played outstanding football. And you could see that there was some type of a progression within the defensive staff and the players, and kind of looks like we're picking up where we left off, but with some better players and some better pieces, and it's really shown. But we're going to need it. We got Ole Miss and Bama coming down the pipeline, and but if those pass rushers continue to play like they have, we've got a shot in every game that we play.
I tell you what, hey, Perry, I'm going to throw a curveball audible at you here. Can we hold you one more segment and get a few more thoughts?
Yeah.
Let's do it. I like what you're saying. We'll come back. Perry Orth joining me this morning. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. I've tried to warn you, this rain's coming in. We're going to have some high winds as well. Are you even thinking about your roof? Are you worried about it? Maybe you don't need to worry about it. You know why? Because you got the professionals at Mid-State Roofing. And all you got to do is give them a phone call. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I want you to remember this as we go through these storms, whether you're in Florence, Myrtle Beach, here in Columbia, wherever you're at. You might be listening in Charleston or Hilton Head this morning. I want you to remember this. Mid-State Roofing is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're ready to help you. Give them a phone call, 803 803-356-1919. Again, it's 803-356-1919. Write that number down and hold it. With this storm coming in, wherever you're at, if you notice something going on with your roof, as Midstate Roofing says, if you've got a leak, let Midstate Roofing take a peek. You need to remember that because the storm's coming in. We want to make sure your roof and your operation stays dry and running long into the future. Call Midstate Roofing today, 803-356-1919. $7:49 as we have kept Perry Orth in the game. Didn't go to the backup. We keep him in so that he can continue to drop knowledge on us. Thank you, Perry, for holding over one more segment. I do apologize. I wanted to get to you a little bit earlier this morning than we did, so I wanted a few more things from you as you talked about defense. Let's go back to the offensive side of the ball, in particular the wide receivers. I've been impressed. I like Mike Furry. I like what he's doing here. I feel like these guys are coming along. Mazio Bennett leads the team in receptions. I like what I've seen so far from Jared Brown. Vandravius Jacobs is probably my favorite wide receiver. I just want to see them get the ball to him a little bit more. And Gage Larvin coming back and being healthy last week showed some good things. Your thoughts on the development of the wide receiver group, a group that was really in question going into the season?
Question group, maybe even of the team going into the season. But I agree. Coach Furry's done an outstanding job. You know, Jared Brown, the transfer from Coastal, was really making some great plays during fall camp and has really kind of settled into his own. Obviously, Mazio Bennett was one of the top prospects in the country and was committed to Tennessee, by the way, at one point, who was a late flip over to Carolina and was able to keep him in state. And I think we're seeing why the Vols wanted him so bad. But, yeah, the other guys, they're playing well. And, you know, what I'll say about – because everybody's been waiting for Nick Harbor to kind of step up and kind of be that five-star guy. And I think he's growing into, you know, learning how to get in and out of his breaks, not only utilizing his speed to try and, you know, hopefully soon be able to take the top off, but he's catching the ball better and he's getting in and out of breaks better. It just looks like, you know, we're developing as a group as the season's coming along. But it is good knowing that if you don't have a bona fide number one guy, you've got 5 or 6 guys that you can put in the game and that can go and make plays. And I think that's what we have. And that bodes well for, you know, for the remainder, I guess the remaining, 8 weeks of the season or 9 weeks with the bye week. So, yeah, a lot to look forward to.
All right, let's ask you. Let's get your opinion. Was it a penalty on, as a former quarterback, was it a penalty on Garrett Nussmeier?
Oh gosh, no. I guarantee you, Preston has shared this with you and the audience. But when you make a block like that, the last thing, and I'm not blaming Kennard because it was a great play, it's just kind of one of those like, well, my baby's losing her mind in the background. But Kennard, when he made that block, all he needed to do was just walk away. Just walk away and Don't leave your hands up and stand over top of them. Just make the block and go run after somebody else. What happens is when you see the big defensive lineman hit the quarterback's laying on the ground almost as if he, is dead, and he's standing there with his hands above his head for like 3 or 4 seconds. Then the flags started flying in, and like I said, you can't blame Kennard. I think it's just kind of one of those like unwritten rules of the game. You make a kind of a tweener block or a tweener hit or whatever, you just kind of carry on like it was just a normal play to kind of not bring attention to what you did. And, it's kind of like on offense when you're holding somebody and you kind of start to feel them like pull away. Right as you see that jersey extend, you let go and let the guy just kind of take off, right? There are things that you can do to prohibit you from kind of getting that flag thrown on you.
Before we let you out here, it sounds like you're having a fun morning. Welcome to fatherhood, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Real quick, you look at the rest of the schedule. Biggest thing that needs to improve for the month of October with this Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma lineup coming up?
Man, biggest thing to improve, I would say both, honestly, being consistent in both running the football and stopping the run. I think overall we've done a good job, but we have let up some big plays on defense and some negative plays on offense. I think cleaning that up and keeping the big plays at a minimum on the defense ball, just because the teams we play have the ability to, at a flip of a switch, can score from anywhere on the field. Keep the ball in front of you and rush the passer well, and you've got a shot to win the rest of the games on your schedule. So that would be my thing. Then offensively, continue to develop Lenorth, continue to keep him consistent in the game, and then I would also say get Ashford in there to mix it up and run the ball, because when you run him a few times during the game, then there always is that ability to kind of do some type of not a trick play, but where he can throw it out of his formations when he's in the game, and that'll take him that could potentially take the top off the opponent's defense. So definitely stopping the run, running the football well. Those two things are going to help us play well in this this middle tier of the season.
Sounds like the child agrees with you. That's the most important thing, is that you get an agreement from children.
No screaming, no screaming right now. Just smacking her little toy in the background and trying to get my attention as I'm looking out the window. But you know how it goes, man. 9 months old. I think she's just fired up about Lenora and the Gamecock. So she's just hooting and hollering over here.
Totally understand. Perry,
smart girl.
We look forward to having you back here in the next week or two to discuss this more. Always appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Take care. Perry Orth there. A lot of good insight and being a great father as well. We'll come back. Hour 3 on the way.
Highway 1 at North Grampian Hills Road, we do have a report of an accident there. I-126 eastbound at I-26. I-77 southbound at Forest Drive. Highway 321 at I-26. Also Highway 378 at I-26, an accident in both those locations. One more to let you know about, and that's Summit Ridge Drive at Bombing Range Road. Going to see some rain today, increasing this afternoon into the evening and throughout the overnight hours. Could see about 2 to 5 inches of rain, perhaps. And some winds will be increasing, high of 79. We'll have the morning rain and wind, and then eventually clearing out later in the day. Right now, though, it's 75.
$8 a.m. as we wrap things up, final hour on a Thursday morning where we have got a lot going on. We have reached out. I didn't think about this, unfortunately, until we started talking at about 6:05 this morning I have the Weather Channel on and watching Hurricane Helena roll in here. I forgot Brian Edwards, our buddy with Vegas Insider, is in that part of the country, and I have reached out to him to just text him this morning and check on him, and it dawned on me he might have bigger fish to fry than joining us at 8:10 this morning, 8:15, to give us his picks of the week. So I will continue to monitor that. Josh Harris will join us coming up at about 7:35 this morning to give us his breakdown as we enter another round of NASCAR playoffs here. So we got a lot to do this morning, a lot going on. But keep your thoughts and prayers with everybody as Hurricane Helena rolling into what appears to be Tallahassee.
Helene. Helena would have an A at the end.
Oh, I did. They actually haven't shown the name up here in forever. It just keeps telling me the tornado warnings. We're not a weather channel, so I don't want to necessarily do this, but it does look like there are now some tornado warnings for the southeastern portion of the state.
Yeah, I saw one actually for Evans, Georgia, here just a little bit ago.
Okay, so yeah, I was going to say we don't want to bring you misinformation, as I was just consistently. There we go. Now they put the name up right as you say something. But yeah, keeping an eye on this morning. Again, thoughts and prayers with everybody down there in the looks appears to be the Tallahassee area, and again, Brian Edwards kind of in that area, so we'll keep an eye on if he's able to join us this morning. But if not, we got plenty of good stuff. Yesterday, Lamont Paris was on with Derek Scott. They filled in the Carolina calls for Shane Beamer and Todd Ellis. And let's let you hear a little bit of Lamont Paris. Number one, always importantly, they are now 3 days into practice, and you always wonder about injuries. He updates the situation with injuries coming out of the summer. I want to get into the summer a little bit for them and why it might be a little bit, why it was different than what occurred last year. But here is Lamont Paris last night. Carolina Calls talking about the injury situation for the Gamecocks.
I think we're pretty good right now. We had an injury one of the last workouts. It seems like it always happens this way. One of the last workouts of the summer, Arden Conyers, who was a redshirt freshman for us last year, a local Columbia product, had twisted his ankle, and so he was out for 4, 5, 6 weeks and has gotten back into it. So he's not 100% yet, but he's able to go live 5-on-5 stuff. So, but other than that, pretty injury-free, knock on wood. It's been a good summer and preseason for us that way, and so just looking to get things rolling.
Speaking of Arden Conyers, this is a player that I'm really, really intrigued to see this year. I don't know what his role needs to be. You've got some guys in front of him that probably take up the majority of the minutes. When you look at Miles Studi, No offense. We got Zach Davis, Miles Studi in particular. Also, we expect Cam Scott to come in and make an impact there early on. Arden Conyers coming off of that redshirt year, but 6'7", 212 pounds, provides length. Again, this is a guy that just, I don't know what my expectations were for him when he committed and then signed with South Carolina. I will admit they weren't very high, but this is a guy that starting in about mid-January last year, just talking with people down there, they started bringing this guy up and saying, hey, we don't necessarily need him this year, but he could probably play some minutes for us and make an impact. And here is Lamont Paris yesterday talking about Arden Conyers, also talking about Austin Hero. Remember the brother of Miami Heat star Tyler Hero. But the two guys that redshirted last year, here is Lamont Paris talking about how they approached their redshirt year and how they improved.
A couple of different ways. Guys either kind of just make their way through it or they take advantage of it at a high level, and both of those guys really took advantage of their redshirt year. So excited about their opportunity. They'll both have an opportunity to contribute and help us. And, I've joked around about it, but I've talked a lot about Arden and just I think the potential that he has. He's just a very versatile guy, especially on the offensive side of the ball. He's just got a knack for scoring without forcing the issue, and that's a rare commodity. He can shoot the ball. He's got a good size, good frame, good athleticism. So really, really excited about him and what he can help and bring to the table.
Yeah, again, Conyers in particular, on our text line, 803-404-6100, Richard was weighing in, and one of the things he was kind of laughing about is Lamont Paris went from a team last year that was not overly athletic. They were good enough to get by. They got by really on more fundamentals and basketball IQ. This team is going to be more athletic, and one of those guys that can come in and maybe make an impact is Arden Conyers, 6'7", listed at 212 pounds on the Gamecock website there, provides length for that defense that Lamont Paris wants to talk about. And one of the things that he talked about yesterday was the difference in play style. And one of the things that he really referenced in difference in play style was how they want to play defense. Now that he's got more athleticism and more length, speaking of a guy like Conyers and, again, the development of Zach Davis, here's what he talked about in his mind, a difference specifically on defense.
I think it'll be on both sides of the coin. I think there will be some things that are very similar. Hopefully, if we can grow to being very solid defensively, and not turning the ball over at a high rate. There's certain things that I think may not even have to do with style. They're a byproduct of what we try to get done. So some of those, but then every group takes on its own life based on the personnel, and there will be some differences. Where the real question mark comes in as a coach and as a coaching staff is, okay, here's what we believe in defensively. We had statistically, in terms of points per game allowed, the best defense in all of the SEC last year. So we're longer and more athletic this year. Well, where does that show itself? You can contest shots better. You can rebound potentially better, which I hope we do. And you could potentially be in the passing lane and force more turnovers. Well, do you change what your philosophy is and trying to get more steals because you're longer and more athletic, and trying to block more shots because you're longer and athletic, at the risk potentially of changing some of the things that allowed you to be an incredible defensive team?
Right.
So those are things that you have to struggle with as a coach, and there'll be a couple of things that we'll throw out there during practice and see what it looks like, and some of them will stick, hopefully, some of them won't, and I just won't think that there'll be things that we'll be able to do in a game. So it's good to have options, though. I will say that it's good to have some guys that you think, well, maybe we could try this, maybe we could press a little bit, maybe we could pressure the ball in a different way, maybe we could create and force some turnovers, which may generate more offense with this group. So it's nice to have the option.
Again, I mentioned our texter on our text line, Richard, saying he goes back. He said, I'd love to see Lamont's face when he's in office by himself, probably the Grinch grin, chuckling like a man, thinking I got something this year. Listening to that minute and 56-second clip there from Lamont Paris, that is a guy who sounds very excited about what he can do with his defense and his defense philosophy now with better athletes. Again, now are they good? Are they as good with their basketball IQ? Does it red? South Carolina was an incredibly smart basketball team last year with guys like B.J. Mack and Talon Cooper in particular. Say what you want about Michie Johnson. Again, a very good basketball IQ. This team's going to be more athletic. They're going to be longer. They're probably going to be more skilled, I think. But the question is, do they have that basketball IQ to handle some of the things that Lamont Paris wants to do with them? And that's going to be the really big question. I don't think we give Talon Cooper enough credit for just how high his basketball IQ was, B.J. Mack as well, and the way they were able to process things on the court, use their skill, their fundamentals to beat people. This team is going to be more athletic, and that's where I think you hear Lamont thinking, boy, I got something here. I got some athletes to work with. I got a system that works. Let me merge these two and see what we get. And we'll continue to talk about that. First game, again, set for November 4th against North Florida. Obviously, a lot of time between now and then, but with a bye week, great to hear from Coach Paris, his philosophies and what he is thinking. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. Up next, I believe he's going to join. He's texted me. Brian Edwards says he's relatively safe and sound right now and still has power, so we expect to have Brian Edwards on from Vegas Insider. Give you your picks for the weekend. When we return, it is the early game. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. First Palmetto Bank, locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands. So that means if you are having to make decisions and wanting to get quick answers, guess what? You will get that with First Palmetto Bank. Things such as the Community Reinvestment Product. Now, you need to call Jacob and get more information on this, but let me give you just a little bit here. If you're looking to purchase in Richland County, Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, or the I-20 corridor, they are offering you a 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. You got that right. For more information, you need to call Jacob Crowder, the Mortgage Guru, 803-719-1005. This doesn't have to be your first home. So call Jacob Crowder today and learn more about the Community Reinvestment Product if you're looking to purchase in Richland County. 803-719-1005. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
Yep. Highway 1 at North Grampian Hills Road, an accident there. Still working to tie up I-26 eastbound there at Bush River Road. I-126 eastbound, slowing things at I-26, I-77 southbound at Forest Drive. 321 at I-26, still a bit of a tie-up there, and 277 southbound after Fontaine Road. The rain will continue. The winds will be picking up, potentially 2 to 5 inches throughout this system as we get into tomorrow morning. Today's high 79. We'll see a little more rain tomorrow, a little bit of wind in the morning. Then it should be clearing and a high of 86. By Saturday, sunny and 85. Right now, it's 75.
$8:17 as we get you up and get you going. We'll be joined here in just a second by Brian Edwards of VegasInsider.com to get his picks for the week. Want to remind you about Sips and Sounds, unlimited sampling of over 40 brands of local and national craft beers, wines, seltzers, and spirits. They'll have live performances by Ken and Drew of Sister Hazel and Dazer and the Donovan Twins. It'll be this Saturday, September 28th. You can get unlimited tasting wristbands now. SipsandSoundsCola.com. Again, unlimited sampling of over 40 brands of local and national craft beers, wines, seltzers, and spirits. So you want to get out and check it out. Go to SipsandSoundsCola.com to get your tasting wristbands. All right, we'll get to Brian Edwards here just a second. Checked on him. He is ready to go this morning and give us his picks. And joining us now, as he does each and every Thursday around 8:15. Brian, let's get a quick weather update for you there as I got the Weather Channel on. How is it down there where you're at?
Oh, it's not bad right now. It's not even raining, but got a little bit of rain last night. And, I haven't looked at the models since, 9 o'clock last night. And, as of the last time I looked, we're a little bit west of the, where the whole, the model deal is, which is it's basically like Panama City Beach. It's like the furthest west of the model, and I'm about 35 miles west of there.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping, that we only get 30-mile-an-hour winds tonight, but there's a chance it'll be a little worse than that. But I hope to not lose power for more than 12 hours or so. So, if need be, I can jump in the car and drive 3 hours west to Biloxi and get posted up in the sports book in plenty of time for Saturday morning. So we'll see.
Well, best of luck to you. Thoughts and prayers with you and your family as this hurricane comes through. But as you mentioned, we do have a weekend of college football, and let's start with a game. I'm actually intrigued by this. I don't know why. I don't know what kind of weird person I am. Rutgers 3-0 on the season, and they'll host Jedfish and the Washington Huskies on Friday night, and that'll be in Piscataway. Nothing like that old-fashioned Big Ten brawl between Washington and Rutgers, and you like the Scarlet Knights in this.
Nothing odd about you being interested in a game between the undefeated Scarlet Knights on a Friday night in prime time. And I'm interested, too, because I like Rutgers minus 2.5. Now, I have a healthy respect for Will Rogers, the former Mississippi State quarterback who's got 8 touchdown passes without an interception for Washington. But this is a short week. This is a Friday game. They got to travel all the way across the country, so it's a big-time situational advantage for Rutgers, who was in control the entire game against Vatech. Last week, led 14-0 in the first quarter, 16-7 at halftime, 23-7 at the early in the third. But Vatech rallied. They tied it up, but Rutgers got a late field goal to win. They're 3-0 now. They blew out Howard and Akron. And they're getting good quarterback play from Kaliak Manis, the transfer from Minnesota, 6-1 TDI-INT ratio. They've got one of the best running backs in the country in Kyle Managai. And he's got 457 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, 6.3 yards per carry average. and I like Rutgers laying the short number to the Huskies.
Yeah, that one actually, surprisingly, you got Miami and Virginia Tech tomorrow night as well. So actually a decent night of Friday night football. It's not so good on Thursday night tonight, Army and Temple, but the Friday night slate tomorrow night, Rutgers and Washington. And I know Miami's a big favorite over Virginia Tech, but kind of an interesting matchup there. Let's go stay in the Big Ten here. Brett Bielema talking a little trash, saying that he's not really worried about the Penn State whiteout energy, doesn't know what that is. Illinois goes in plus 18. They had a great Friday night game last week. Your thoughts on Illinois and Penn State?
Yeah, Illinois's got an extra day's rest. I like how Illinois has looked. Luke Altmaier, another former SEC quarterback from his younger days at Ole Miss, he is playing very improved football. 10-0 TD-INT ratio, and Brett Bielema and company off to a really good start, and they have been great as a road underdog under Bielema, as they are now 10-3 against the spread after the spread cover at Nebraska, and I just think this is too many points. As I'm looking at trying to find my sheet to see what I made Penn State 14, and we can get 18. There's a couple of 18.5s out there. Give me the 4-0 Illini catching the huge number at Penn State.
Real quick, do we not give Brett Bielema enough credit as a coach? He was very good at Wisconsin, and there was a bad run at Arkansas, but it feels like he's found his home again in the Big Ten at Illinois. Is this part of a coaching kind of thing where you think Illinois plus 18 is a good call?
You know, man, I've always liked Bielema, and he did have kind of a rough go at Arkansas. Now, he had a couple good teams in there, like his third or fourth year, but, you know, it went south at the end. It's taken a minute to build this up at Illinois, but they look poised for a pretty good season. And yeah, I've always liked him. I definitely think he is an above-average Power 5 coach. Not elite, although he had some, you know, elite years at Wisconsin. But, yeah, I like Bielema, and I like him catching points. And I just mentioned that road underdog stat in Illinois. And so, yeah, you got a good point there.
Let's go to the SEC for a couple games. I tell you what, let's do the other one real quick. Let's stay in the Big Ten. Cincinnati originally +4, and now that line's moving down. Your thoughts on Cincinnati and Texas Tech?
Yeah, I made Cincinnati a favorite here. This was my favorite one on Sunday because the line came out 7, and I knew that was a horrible number. But I didn't have a chance to bet it until my account. By the time my account posted anything, it was +4. Now it's 2.5. I still like it. I mean, I'd rather you buy it to 3, but I still think they have a great chance to win outright. They're getting great quarterback play from Brendan Sorsby, the transfer from Indiana. 8 touchdown passes, no interceptions, 3 rushing TDs. Give me the Bearcats as an underdog at Texas Tech.
And this is proof that we don't know anything with conferences because I can't get them right. 7, I said Big 10, that's Big 12, Cincinnati, and Virginia Tech.
It's not like Cincinnati's been the Big 12 very long, Gunner.
I'll be honest. Even as I was saying it out loud, I was like, is Cincinnati in the Big 10? Like, we're trying to figure everything out as we go along here. Let's jump to the one conference we do know about, the SEC, where you've got a couple of them here. And let's start with a game that I'm kind of intrigued to see. Auburn is scuffling. They don't have a quarterback. Oklahoma comes in with a top 20 defense. Oklahoma at Auburn this weekend.
I got to fade Auburn, man. They're getting bad quarterback play. Freeze is freaking out. Seems like they've got locker room issues. Now, Oklahoma's going to a new quarterback, but I thought the true freshman Michael Hawkins looked pretty good last week. He led 2 fourth-quarter touchdown drives. And this is just going against Auburn. And, look, man, no shame in getting beat by Tennessee this year. Oklahoma does have 3 wins over, you know, not very good competition. But Tulane's pretty good. But, anywho, I like Oklahoma to just get it done. I did -125 money line, but if it's more expensive than money line, just lay the 2. Give me the Sooners.
We mentioned this game yesterday. It could be a shootout. South Alabama has put up points on points on points the last 2 weeks against Northwest. I think it's Northwestern State, and then on the road at App State. They are getting 22 at LSU this week, and that LSU defense hadn't exactly been superior.
Yeah, they lost Harold Perkins, the best player on the whole team, to an ACL tear. LSU's 0-4 against the spread this year. And this Gio Lopez, quarterback for South Alabama, he missed one game, but in 3 games, 843 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions, 169 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 8.0 yards per carry average. I think he'll keep South Alabama in the game against that bad LSU defense. I don't know if LSU gets ahead of the number. They never did against UCLA last week, who's terrible. But South Alabama will have backdoor potential if they do. Give me South Alabama plus the 22.
And then the game of the weekend, game day, will be in Tuscaloosa, and you actually have a favorite here. Let's hear what you got to say. Alabama hosting Georgia.
Yeah, Alabama 8-1 last 9 head-to-head meetings. And the one win, remember, Mechie got hurt in the SEC championship game 2 years ago. Alabama was winning, and Jameson Williams blew his knee out. And then without wide receivers the rest of the game, they had no offense. Georgia rallies and won. But Alabama has had Georgia's number for a long time. They're at home. They're home underdogs first time since 2007. I like Alabama to win outright. I bought the half point from 2.5 to 3 at a minus 130 price. But, you know, if you're plus 2, I like Alabama to win outright. Don't buy it to 3 and pay like minus 140 or anything like that. Give me Bama.
Alabama has not been a home dog since 2007, is what you said?
Correct.
Oh, dear. All right. Real quick, and I'll get you out of here. Kalen DeBoer. I think even when Nick Saban was coaching last year, Kalen DeBoer may be the best coach in the country. Just doesn't have the tenure and the championships that Saban does, but that's because of the tenure a little bit. Your thoughts on Kalen DeBoer as a head coach?
The day after Washington beat Texas, I tweeted out, my 2024 Florida Gators coaching search wish list. 1, Kalen DeBoer, 2, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
And a week later, he was Bama's coach, so I was disappointed.
Yeah, well, you still got Lane out there. You still got Lane. We won't harass you with Florida discussion this week. We want you to be safe, man. Hope the family is safe.
I'm not against, by the way, sorry to interrupt, but I'm not against Ole Miss if you can buy the half point to minus 17 this week. They're just a juggernaut right now. It's a lot of points, and Kentucky played Georgia tough, but I'm not against the Rebels. Just throwing that in there.
Okay, so real quick, Rutgers minus 2.5, Alabama buying half a point to the 3, Illinois plus 18, Oklahoma money line, South Alabama plus the 22, and Cincinnati plus the 2.5. Now, Brian, we always appreciate you taking time out. Again, hope you're safe this week and look forward to catching up this time next week.
Thanks, brother. Y'all have a good weekend.
Take care. Brian Edwards, VegasInsider.com. Make it part of your daily reading. Also, check him out on MajorWager.com. Always great sites to go and get some reading Friday evening, Saturday morning before you make any picks that you might want to make. 803-404-6100. We'll transition. Last hour we went from horses to football. Now we go from football to NASCAR. Sounds fair, right?
I'm thinking, yeah. I think it's a simple transition.
It's just like second gear to third gear. We just rev it up a little bit. You're listening to Jen Jensen, Bill Gunner. Joined next by Josh Harris of Darlington Raceway. It's the early game.
Gotten a little bit busy out there and probably will be a little busier yet later on today as far as the traffic conditions are concerned. Highway 1 at North Grampian Hills Road, an accident there. Also I-26 eastbound at Bush River Road. I-126 eastbound at I-26, working to get that cleaned up. I-77 southbound at Forest Drive. 277 southbound after Fontaine Road. 2 more to let you know about. Summit Ridge Parkway or Summit Ridge Drive, at Bombing Range Road. And then we do have a slowdown, 321 at I-26. Going to see the rain and winds pick up throughout the afternoon and in the overnight hours. Some morning rain and wind tomorrow. 86 for the high tomorrow, 79 today. Right now, 75.
Just recently on the radio, he said to Cliff Daniels, I'm trying to get to the white flag as quickly as I can. Well, that white flag has come. And Kyle Larson is on his way home. It has been a stellar first-class performance under the lights in Bristol. Kyle Larson is the man.
That was the call last Saturday night. Might have gotten lost a little bit because it was Saturday night during the South Carolina football game. But that was the call there as Kyle Larson takes home the win. And that means our good buddy Josh Harris took home the victory. Great prediction, Mr. Harris.
Absolutely.
As you now closed within 4 points. This is is it beginner's luck, rookie success, whatever it is. You are now 4 points behind Reggie Anderson as we head to Kansas this coming weekend.
Well, it's not a time to get overconfident. You know, you gotta just pace yourself here at the end of the year, just sneak up on them, and then and see what we can do here over the last 7 weeks.
I tell you what, he put on a commanding performance. I mean, leading 462 of the 500 laps. I mean, it was pretty much just the Kyle Larson Hendrick show.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle's run well at Bristol in the past, and you know, there was a lot of talk going into that race about the tire wear, and when we see what we saw back in the spring, and teams were a little uncertain, and so I think probably some of it was getting the setup correctly, and then sometimes this happens in racing. You just got to give teams, give drivers credit for whipping the field, and that's what they did, and no one could really touch them on Saturday night. And we'll see if that gives them a little bit more momentum here heading into the end of the season.
What did you think of the racing Saturday night? It seemed like the Xfinity race really provided a little more action than maybe the Cup race did. It just kind of felt like maybe, I don't know if the tires weren't wearing off as much or what the deal was. And I know there's been a lot of conversations about short track racing and people clamoring for more horsepower, and NASCAR says no. And what were your thoughts on the racing overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think Elton Sawyer even came out and said, you know, NASCAR really wants to work on this, and not that they haven't been working on it, but that the show wasn't what they had expected or hoped for the fans. So I think there's a number of factors at play, but I think sometimes the way, and this is not a criticism of NBC, but just the way the race gets covered, you miss a lot on TV that you probably can see in person with things that are happening throughout the field at a short track like that they have to pick and choose what to show. And then there's also this focus of the playoffs and the cutoff versus the race itself. So there's a lot going on that they're focusing on and telling a story. However, I understand it's frustrating when you see a guy like Truex, who was running second, third most of the night, get a penalty, drop down to 24th, and then he can't advance back up through the field. I think that was probably a big kind of example for fans that a lot of people pointed to of this is what's wrong with short track racing right now. A guy who was running up at the front can't even get out of 25th place once he gets a penalty.
Fair, I think very fair assessment.
Let's get a big picture from both of you. Josh, I'll start with you. Go to Jen. Biggest surprise as we make the cut here from 16 to 12. Your thoughts on that and the biggest surprise for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's a huge surprise just given overall how the season has gone for him, but it's still a little disappointing to not see Martin Truex advance out of the first round. And then on the flip side, I think you got a couple of guys that, like Chase Briscoe, our Southern 500 winner. He was somebody that people felt like, he got lucky, won that race. He'll be out after the first round, and I think he's showing some good speed here, in the playoffs. So I think those would be two that you could say are a little surprising on both ends.
I would agree with that. I was kind of surprised not to see Keselowski advance. That was a little bit shocking to me. I'm with you. And like Austin Cindric, he's just kind of come into his own, and he's really been doing well. As far as how he's been doing, two of his top tens or something have happened in the playoffs, or as far as stage wins or things like that. He's really come into his own in the playoffs. So I'm not exactly counting him out like I might have originally. It just seems like they're kind of dialed in right now.
Yeah, I mean, Penske has all three of their teams have advanced to the round of 12. All four Hendrick Motorsports drivers have advanced to the round of 12. I think Alex Bowman is another one that coming into the playoffs. There's a lot of talk about does he even have that ride next year? And I think he went out and performed across all three of those races and put himself in a great position to advance. And then now it kind of resets, and we'll see what happens here in the round of 12.
It's just three of us, so I'll get in one more question here. Obviously, Preston will get his pick, I guess, tomorrow. We'll check in on him. Reggie's got the final pick. Right now, you go to 12. Real quick, Josh, reset for people that don't quite understand the playoff system. Where are we at in this? Does it reset to 0 and you work your way back up? Or are you taking your points total? Explain for people that how this works now when you drop from 16 to 12.
Yeah, so it's a reset of wherever you finished at the end of this first round, you're awarded points for that finishing position, but everyone gets reset at a baseline, and then you're given certain number of points for where you were in the standings. And then on top of that, drivers throughout the entire season have earned playoff points for either stage wins or race wins, and those are added to their total as well. So a guy like Alex Bowman, who may have finished, let's say, fourth in the standings after round 12, or after round of 16, he doesn't restart in that same position. It's a combination of where he finished, but also the playoff points, so it rewards the season longevity and the season success as well.
Okay, so there we go. So that gives us a little breakdown as we head into who is still in. And real quick, and then we'll make our picks. For those wondering who is still in the playoffs here, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman, and Chase Briscoe. So let's make some picks, which is embarrassing because that means I have to pick first, which has now happened 3 consecutive weeks. I have not picked last 3 consecutive weeks the entire time we've ever done this. I've not picked last 3 times any time we've ever done this. Very embarrassing. So let me start with me. And you know what? I'm trying to make a run. I'm trying to do whatever I can to win this thing. There's only one man to turn to in these situations. Continue to give me Denny Hamlin.
Well, Kansas is a good track for him.
I've got nowhere else to go.
You're just going to ride that horse until he takes you to victory. I like it.
Truly.
Stick with the guy.
You know what? If I'm going to go down, he's led me to championships. If I'm going to go down, he's going down with me, so that maybe next year is an entirely different feeling.
Oh my God,
nothing else I can do.
I think that's truly fair. It's good track for him. So
I'm actually 14 points behind Reggie. I'm 2 behind Jen. Jen, it is your pick. Where do you go?
I think I'm going to go with the driver who came in third in the spring at Kansas, and that would be Mr. Chase Elliott.
Chase Elliott. All right, that brings us to Mr. Harris, who is just 1 point behind Preston Thorne, 4 points behind Reggie. He's looking to go back-to-back wins. Where do you go?
Well, I'm going to go with Toyota. I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick this week.
Nice.
Good pick there. Good pick. He's up there in the picks. Now, did we get Preston's pick?
We did not, so he'll just have a last pick, and that's okay.
So then that takes us to Reggie, who is doing everything he can to fend off Josh and Preston.
Man, no kidding. And top on his list was Kyle Larson. So maybe he's thinking of back-to-back.
He goes back-to-back. So we will track it all down. That'll be coming up Sunday, 3 p.m. USA. Kansas will be the destination. This will start the 3-race series to cut it down to the round of 8. Talladega next week. Charlotte on the 13th of October. Josh, we always appreciate you taking time out to join us. It's always a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it as well, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you so much. Look forward to catching
you,
up. That is the Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge. If you're going to have pool issues after this week, I can promise, rain and everything, don't let that affect you. Call Corley Pool Solutions. Keep that pool clean. 803-445-8109. Again, Tracy Corley and his team, absolutely phenomenal. They are the official sponsor of the Corley Pool Solutions Checkered Flag Challenge that I need to get the trophy back and get it fixed. We'll wrap up the program when we come back. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. Let me tell you something. Dealing with tax troubles, dealing with tax stress, that is absolutely no fun. You don't want something like that weighing over your head. And let's be honest, navigating the IRS maze, it can be difficult, but you've got a superhero in place. You've got a team that knows how to do it, and that is John Ecton, the Ecton Law Firm. Call today and start that process to a worry-free life. It all starts with a free consultation. 803-771-9800. The Ecton Law Firm will give you the peace of mind you deserve. They'll do it with proven local solutions. Now, local, it doesn't just mean Columbia. They are also available in Florence and Myrtle Beach. Maybe you're in Charleston. Maybe you're in Greenville. Wherever you're at, the Ecton Law Firm can provide you the peace of mind that you deserve with solutions that have been proven to navigate the IRS maze. 803-771-9800. Call John Ecton, the Ecton Law Firm today. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. I was telling you a little while ago, and I'm going to remind you now, we got some rain, heavy rain, some winds coming into town. Is your roof ready to handle it? Have you even thought about it until I just said it? Probably not. Probably not. That's all right. Mid-State Roofing has, and they're prepared. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Doesn't matter where you're at. Columbia, Myrtle Beach, Florence. Maybe you're in Charleston. Maybe you're in Hilton Head, and you're listening this morning. We thank you for that. Mid-State Roofing is ready to help you. And again, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you notice something happening late this afternoon, something happening late tonight, call 803-356-1919. If you notice a leak, Mid-State Roofing is ready to take a peek, and they're ready to provide you with a maintenance contract. From high-rises to hospitals, manufacturing to industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs bonded systems with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. Keep this phone number handy, 803-356-1919. Call Mid-State Roofing today. 803-404-6100. We'll take caller number 3. We're giving you a pair of tickets to South Carolina and to Mississippi. 803-404-6100. That's, again, how you can call in. Jen's ready to take your phone call. She's all fired up to talk to somebody and give them a pair of tickets to next Saturday afternoon South Carolina, Mississippi game. Call in now. It is the Carolina Honda Powerhouse giveaway, giving you 2 tickets to South Carolina, Mississippi next Saturday. We'll take caller number 3. Wrapping it up, big thank you to Josh Harris. Big thank you to Brian Edwards. Big thank you to Perry Orth. We've had a really fun show. Preston will be back in studio all day tomorrow. We'll catch up with Chris Deering. We had some high school games last night. Some expected tonight. Wind's supposed to be kind of questionable tomorrow. We're keeping an eye here on Hurricane Helene. Hurricane Helene. I guess if I'm going to watch this, I probably should get to know the name of the Hurricane Helene, who we're keeping an eye on here right now to keep an eye on our state in particular. There are some tornado warnings out there, so be safe today. Keep an eye on the weather as we move through. Again, talked a lot this morning. Lamont Paris last night joining Carolina Calls with Derek Scott. A lot of great information from there. You'll hear us talk a lot about that later on throughout the day. Also, bad news yesterday for the Braves and the aspect I think that they had their game canceled. It felt like they had all the momentum yesterday going into that game, and then you had Chris Sale heading to the mound last night. Braves were in a position there where they could have tied the Mets. Who knows at that point, yesterday when we discovered this, who knows what the Diamondbacks were going to do. Turned out the Diamondbacks would go on to win last night and go a full game ahead of the Braves. Diamondbacks 88 and 71. The Braves 86 and 71, and the Mets 87 and 70. But a tough break for the Braves. Not only was last night's game canceled or postponed, but tonight's game was postponed. They are now set to play a doubleheader on Monday, providing that they will at least play. From what I've read, I could be wrong on this. From what I've read, they will at least play game 1 on Monday. If there is a reason to play game 2, if it determines something, they will play it. It sounds like from what I read, if it is inconsequential and irrelevant, the Braves and the Mets will not play game 2 on Monday. So the Braves will get set for a series with Kansas City. Kansas City fighting for its playoff hopes as well going into the weekend. So the Braves and the Royals this coming weekend. The Mets and the Brewers, that's actually a really, I don't know, maybe that's a situation where the Brewers just say, hey, we're not going to play our guys. We're going to start resting them, getting ready for next week. Maybe the Mets draw the Mets draw the better draw there. And then the Diamondbacks play the Padres starting tomorrow night. And again, that's a situation where the Padres have clinched a playoff spot. Do they need to play their guys? So you got the Braves actually playing a team who fighting to get into the playoffs. You got the Diamondbacks playing the Padres. Padres are clinched. I don't know if they need to play their starters this weekend or if you keep those guys kind of in rhythm. And then the same thing with the Mets who get the Brewers. On paper, the Diamondbacks and the Mets have the harder draws there, but it sounds like maybe the Padres and the Brewers will not play their guys. So a tough break there for the Braves. We'll see if Monday means anything to them when we wrap up the weekend. One other note from Major League Baseball, and I want to get into this with Preston a little bit more, but if you haven't heard the name Rowdy Tellez, there's a good reason to. The Pittsburgh Pirates, who also not really in the playoffs whatsoever in any form or fashion. Well, Rowdy Tellez needed 4 at-bats, just 4, 6 games to go, 4 at-bats to earn a $200,000 bonus. The stat in his contract that if he had 425 plate appearances this year, he would get a $200,000 bonus. He's at 421. Well, the Pirates saw this, thought about money, and on Tuesday designated him for free agency, ending his season 4 at-bats shy of a $200,000 bonus with 6 games left. As the article says, kind of a Bush League thing to do. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Get you ready for Football Friday. Preston Thorne will be back. Y'all have a great rest of the day.
Hey, they say that perfection is a journey. Well, our journey in updating a bathroom led us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. And with that renovation, of course, we replaced the kitchen or the bathroom cabinet, and we needed a countertop. And we were recommended to go to Carolina Stone Craftsman. And I got to tell you, we were so impressed. Felt right at home, toured their showroom, which is fabulous. Learned about the marble and the granite and the quartz. They sculpt everything with the highest craftsmanship. Family values are so important to them and incorporated into the business. And everything done so professionally. There was a lot to choose from. They helped us make those decisions. Every step of the process was great. Visiting the showroom, selecting the granite, their visit to measure, and then the installation was flawless. And when they installed it, cleaned up perfectly. If you are in the market for countertops for your kitchen or bath, I do encourage you, reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman and tell them that Jen Jensen sent you. And they always say they invite you to take them for granted. Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia in Chapin and beyond your expectations. CarolinaStoneCraftsman.com.